All right, let's dive into some New Year's Eve magic, shall we? We're going to be talking about fireworks, obviously, and how to make this New Year's Eve really unforgettable. We've got two interesting sources here. One is a really cool, kind of lifestyle magazine-y guide to creating just like a really special night around fireworks. And then the other one is this very practical article. It's about the UK's biggest New Year's Eve firework displays that are happening this year for 2024-2025. So we're going to cover everything from those massive celebrations to, if you're thinking about something smaller at home, we give you all the tips and tricks and insights to plan a celebration that really sparks joy.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to sort through all the details and, help you guys plan.
I think one thing that really surprised me was learning about the history of fireworks. I was reading about it, and they've been around a lot longer than I ever realized.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fireworks actually originated in ancient China. And, believe it or not, they weren't always about these, dazzling displays. They were initially used for really practical purposes, like religious ceremonies and even military signaling.
Wow, so how did they evolve from those early uses to the elaborate celebrations that we see today?
Well, over centuries, the Chinese really refined the art of firework making. They blended artistry with chemistry to create these increasingly elaborate displays, and eventually fireworks made their way along trade routes, and they captivated audiences across Asia and Europe. But it was really during the Renaissance that fireworks became closely associated with grand celebrations and public spectacles.
Oh, that's interesting. So it went from something purely practical to something totally celebratory.
Exactly. And speaking of festivities, our UK article highlights some fantastic events happening this New Year's Eve.
Yeah, so of course, there's the iconic London New Year's Eve fireworks display, lighting up landmarks like the London Eye and Big Ben. Although I did read the tickets are already sold out.
Yeah, they are, unfortunately. But the article suggests some fantastic alternative viewing spots. Like Alexandra Palace, for instance, offers these breathtaking panoramic views of the city. And then there's Lambeth Bridge, where you can actually get a close-up perspective of the fireworks over the Thames.
Ooh, and for a truly luxurious experience, they suggest a Thames River cruise. Imagine watching those fireworks cascade over the water while you're enjoying a delicious meal.
That sounds amazing. But of course, if crowds aren't your thing, you can always catch the London fireworks broadcast on BBC One.
Oh, that's a good point for those of us who prefer a cozy night in. Now, our guide really stresses the importance of being prepared. Whatever Mother Nature throws our way. They particularly emphasized checking the weather and dressing accordingly.
Oh, yeah. Layers are key. You never know what kind of weather you'll encounter, especially here in the UK. And, even the best laid plans can be disrupted by those unexpected weather conditions.
Yeah, they actually mentioned in the article that Edinburgh's Hogmanay fireworks, which is their big New Year's Eve celebration, and Brighton Piers fireworks had to be canceled this year due to weather concerns. So it's always good to just double check with organizers just in case.
Absolutely. Being prepared also means having that backup plan, especially if you're traveling to an event.
And don't forget the essentials, blankets, snacks, water bottles, especially if you're going to be out for a while.
Yeah, maximizing that comfort and enjoyment. Remember, you want to be fully present to savor the moment when those fireworks light up the sky.
Yeah, speaking of savoring the moment, our guide encourages us to think about fireworks beyond just the visual spectacle. They suggest taking some time for personal reflection. Maybe writing down your hopes for the new year or sharing meaningful stories with loved ones.
It's like when those fireworks explode, It's like all the worries and negativity of the past year are bursting away too. I think that's what makes them so powerful, especially on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
They're a visual reminder of a fresh start.
I love that. I can definitely see how fireworks can enhance those personal moments of reflection and new beginnings.
Yeah, it's about connecting with the deeper meaning behind the spectacle. It's not just about the bright lights and loud noises. It's about the emotions and hopes they evoke.
Yeah, and speaking of hopes, maybe we should dive into some of these events happening across the UK that really tap into that sense of celebration and new beginnings.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm particularly intrigued by Manchester's unique celebration this year.
Me too. It sounds like they're pulling out all the stops.
They're really embracing that, spirit of innovation this year. They're using St. Peter's Square for the countdown. And get this, they're launching fireworks from the roof of Manchester Central Library for the very first time.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. Talk about a unique vantage point. It must be quite a sight to see those fireworks bursting against the backdrop of such a historic building.
Absolutely. And it's a family-friendly and alcohol-free event, so that makes it perfect for those looking for a more laid-back celebration. They've got music dancing and all sorts of other entertainment planned.
It's so nice that there are events that cater to different preferences, and create those inclusive spaces where everyone can enjoy the festivities.
Speaking of inclusive spaces, Newcastle's another city that's putting on a fantastic event.
Oh, yeah, the double fireworks display. I love that they have one at 6 p.m. for families with young children, and then another at midnight for, those who want to bring in the new year with a bang.
That is clever. It's a great way to make sure everyone gets to experience the magic no matter what their bedtime is.
Yeah, and Newcastle has so many great viewing points, along the quayside and on the bridges. So you're pretty much guaranteed a fantastic view.
Now, if you're looking for something truly unique and a bit more on the quirky side, let's head down to St. Ives in Cornwall.
Ooh, St. Ives. I think the article mentioned something about a fancy dress party.
That's right. Apparently, the St. Ives Town Council calls it the third largest fancy dress party after London and Edinburgh.
Wow. That's quite a claim to fame.
Yeah, it is. Imagine thousands of people in these elaborate costumes, parading through the streets with fireworks illuminating the harbor as a backdrop.
Oh, wow. It sounds like an explosion of color and creativity. A truly unforgettable way to celebrate New Year's Eve.
It is fascinating how fireworks have evolved into such diverse forms of celebration. Around the world, we've talked about grand displays and intimate gatherings, family-friendly events, and lively parties. It really is a testament to that enduring power of this ancient tradition to bring people together.
Speaking of the enduring power of fireworks, I was actually a little bit curious about the science behind those dazzling displays. What actually makes those vibrant colors and patterns explode across the sky?
That is a great question. It's this fascinating blend of chemistry and engineering. So fireworks are essentially carefully constructed packages of gunpowder and various chemical compounds. And the gunpowder provides that explosive force to launch the firework into the air, while those chemical compounds determine the color and the effects.
That's those different chemicals for different colors.
Exactly. For instance, strontium creates that brilliant red, copper produces shades of blue, and barium gives us those vibrant greens.
It's like a giant chemistry experiment in the sky.
Yeah, you could say that. And the artistry involved in designing those complex patterns and, choreographing them to music is incredible. It takes a lot of skill and precision to create those breathtaking displays.
Yeah, so it's clear that fireworks are more than just a spectacle. It's like a fusion of art, science, and cultural significance.
Precisely. And speaking of cultural significance, I think it's important to acknowledge that fireworks, while beautiful and celebratory, can also have an impact on the environment.
Right, and I know there have been concerns about noise pollution and air quality, especially in areas where fireworks are used frequently.
Yeah, exactly. And while many communities are exploring ways to, mitigate those impacts, like using quieter fireworks or opting for alternative forms of celebration like laser shows, it's a conversation worth having as we consider the sustainability of our festive traditions.
It's a good reminder that even as we enjoy these dazzling displays, we should be mindful of the broader impact, they might have on our surroundings.
And speaking of mindfulness, our guide encourages us to create a festive atmosphere that extends beyond just the fireworks themselves.
Right, like setting intentions for the new year, writing down wishes, or sharing stories and memories from the past year.
It's those personal touches that transform an event into a truly cherished memory. It's about connecting with the people around you and reflecting on the things that matter most.
It's beautiful how you can infuse those celebratory moments with even more meaning and significance.
It is indeed. And speaking of meaningful moments, let's circle back to our earlier discussion about those alternative viewing spots for the sold-out London fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Alexandra Palace, Lambeth Bridge, and those luxurious Thames River cruises. It's good to have options, especially when the main event is fully booked.
Speaking of options, maybe we should shift gears and explore some of the practicalities of attending these large-scale fireworks displays. What are some things our listeners should keep in mind to ensure, a smooth and enjoyable experience?
Yeah, there are definitely some key things to consider, especially when it comes to navigating crowds and ensuring safety. Okay, so welcome back to our New Year's Eve deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, the history and science of fireworks, those specific events across the UK, and we even touched on some, environmental and personal considerations.
It has been quite the journey, from those ancient origins in China to the diverse forms of celebration that we see today. Fireworks truly hold, a fascinating place in human culture.
Absolutely. And speaking of those diverse forms of celebration, I wanted to touch on something that really stood out to me while reading through the sources. It's kind of like the contrast between those massive, meticulously choreographed public displays, like, the London fireworks, and the more intimate, personalized celebrations that our guide encourages.
That is a really insightful observation. What are your thoughts on that contrast?
Well, on one hand, you have those grand spectacles like the London New Year's Eve fireworks.
Yeah.
With thousands of people gathering along the Thames, sharing in this awe-inspiring moment.
It's powerful, almost like a collective gasp followed by cheers of delight. I remember watching a fireworks display over Sydney Harbor a few years ago, and the energy in the crowd was electric. Everyone was just captivated by the beauty and the grandeur of it all.
Exactly. It's like this true symbol of collective celebration and shared excitement. But then you have the guide, suggesting we create our own little rituals and traditions, maybe writing down our hopes for the new year or sharing meaningful stories with loved ones. It's like two sides of the same coin.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about embracing both aspects and finding what resonates with you personally. Maybe you attend a public display and then come home to a cozy gathering with loved ones and incorporate some of those personal touches that our guide suggests.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's about, creating that multi-layered experience that combines the magic of the spectacle with the warmth and intimacy of those personal connections. And it doesn't have to be limited to New Year's Eve either. Fireworks can enhance any celebration, birthdays, cultural festivals, you name it.
That is so true. I think the key takeaway here is that fireworks are more than just a visual spectacle. They represent hope renewal, the power of shared experiences, whether you're drawn to the grandeur of a public display or the intimacy of a personal celebration. Embrace the magic of the moment and let those bursts of light inspire you.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of fireworks, I just want to remind everyone to stay safe, especially if you're planning to set off your own fireworks. Always follow the instructions and guidelines provided, and be mindful of your surroundings.
Absolutely. Safety should always be the top priority. And remember, if you're attending a public display, be sure to check for any updates or announcements from the organizers, especially in light of, potential weather disruptions.
We want everyone to have a happy, safe, and unforgettable New Year's Eve, filled with sparkling lights and joyful moments. So go out there, celebrate, reflect, and embrace the magic of new beginnings.
Happy New Year!